I would waste it all for you. 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 I would waste it all for you.
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this institution reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, pero sa sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Upang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagataputok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na naghihindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di magtitingin, lumalang araw ng walang pagsinta, mo'y langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pagkay mga aking, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Hello and welcome, everyone. This is the Educators in Action, adapting to the new culture of education. Whether you are a school official concerned with ensuring operations of your school, or an educator with interactions every day with students, we are happy that you are here and wanted us to ensure that we all are as prepared as we can be for the new challenges of education. We are your host, the Rotary Club of Greenfield District, a newly chartered Rotary Club composed of professionals from various industries. And as part of our service initiatives, we have adopted the leadership strategies for school managers, or LESM, LESSM, by AHEAD Education. We are happy to be with AHEAD to continue the conversations among educational institutions and between education and business. We also hope to grow this particular program to meet the needs of this sector. By the way, my name is Mary Faith Abano, the EVP of the Rotary Club of Greenfield District, also the General Manager of Celestial Media Services Incorporated, and your host for this afternoon. This is a matter that involves all of us. This is why we are asking you to please right now, share this event. It's important that we share this event and let a lot of people know as much as we can so that all school leaders and their respective stakeholders in the Philippines can learn and improve. Please put our event in your wall and tag at least 10 school leaders that you know: deans, assistant deans, department chairs, college secretaries, assistant principals. All of them, they are all school leaders. So if you know them and you know that they're not here yet, tag them right now. Let them know that it is time to come, drop what they're doing, and learn for this afternoon. For our audience, we welcome your questions for our panelists and even your thoughts through the chat box. Please use the hashtag Educators in Action, hashtag Educators in Action, hashtag LESM, LESSM, and hashtag Rotary Club of Greenfield District. So that's what you can do right now. At this point, may I introduce to you the head of this session, the Educators in Action, Adapting to the New Culture of Education, our Service Project Committee Head, also the Managing Director of Monstar Lab Philippines, Mr. Alan Tan.
Thank you, Faith, and good afternoon, everyone. We are very excited about this event as school starts to open this week and in the coming weeks. This topic is very timely because we're expecting an influx of students going back to school premises and the classrooms. And today we are very blessed. We are very, very blessed because we have some of the top minds and leaders in the education sector. Not only having one or two representatives, but we actually have five representatives from five top universities in our country. So we're expecting to hear a lot of great insights, sharing new ideas and best practices about the upcoming face-to-face classes. We hope that in this event, school leaders and teachers, will be able to learn and apply some new techniques in handling face-to-face or hybrid classes, especially applying a balance between effective teaching methods of face-to-face online, at the same time keeping the safety of our students and as well as our community. The Rotary Club of Greenfield District is a newly formed chapter. We were officially formed just last July, and in fact, this is our very first service project. As you know, Rotary is a humanitarian service organization which brings together businesses and professional leaders to provide community service, to promote integrity, and advance goodwill, peace, and understanding in this world. Again, this is our very first project, and we are very happy to have our distinguished panel joining us today. And we look forward to doing more events as we continue, our activities and be able to be of more service to others. We hope that you'll continue to support us by liking our Facebook page. Just search us, Rotary Club of Greenfield District, and like our page so that you'll know what we have on pipeline and the upcoming events. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome everyone to this event entitled Educators in Action, Adapting to the New Culture of Education. Back to you, Faith.
Thank you so much, Alan. And this early, I'd like to give you a big, great pat on the back for all of the hard work. Congratulations for all of the hard work that you have put into this. Thank you for leading the charge, and making sure that we have something that we know, and we have already put our mark in that stream that we have decided as a club to make our mark and to serve our community. You know, we have so many people here already from all over the Philippines. We have people from Bogo, CEU, Lucena City as well, Sorsogon, and Zamboanga. Thank you so much for being here. There are some people from Quezon City, also from Culiat, Taguig, and Pateros, and also Bukidnon. And we have some people from the central office of CHED. So maraming salamat po for being here. You know, your presence is very empowering for us, and we hope that you can spread the word. No, spread the word that this is something that that will really help the entire education sector. We are here. We want to be able to serve. We want to continue the conversation. Now, let's get into the action, shall we? But before we do so, a few reminders. Once again, we appreciate your comments and encourage you to ask questions to our panelists. Using the chat box, write your questions, write whatever comments you may have as a reaction to our panelists' discussion. And also, stay on until the end of the program. Let's maximize our learnings. Guys, let's maximize our learnings. It is not often that you have these 5 top officials in one session. So, you know, let's maximize the time that we have with them. If you have colleagues who are not here yet, friends in the education sector who are not here, guys, tell them to drop what they're doing. This is worthy of their time. I know that you agree with me. Send the link to them. That's what you can do right now. Okay, so are you excited to meet our panelists? Because I am thrilled to introduce them to you. Our first panelist is the president of De La Salle University, also concurrent president of De La Salle Santiago Zobel School, Jaime Hilario Integrated School, Batac Bataan, and De La Salle University, De La Salle Araneta University. Friends, a warm welcome, please, to Brother Bernard S. Oca, FSC. Hello, Brother Bernard.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.
Magandang hapon po. I'm so happy. We're so thrilled to have you, and we really look forward to a lot of.
Maraming salamat sa pag-anyaya.
Brother Bernard, hindi ito una, hindi ito huli. Okay. Salamat po. Our second panelist is the president of the University of Asia and the Pacific. He has extensive research and consulting experience as an industry economist, strategic management consultant, and business sustainability specialist. He is an advisor of several family-owned businesses and corporations, industry associations, and policymakers to guide them on sound industry policy, corporate strategy, and business sustainability benchmarking. His special field of research dwells on industry dynamics and business policy making. Please welcome Dr. Winston Conrad B. Padohino. Hi, Dr. Stan.
Good afternoon, Faith. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I'd like to greet Brother Bernie and my other co-panelists here, Dr. Peña, Dr. Cheryl, and Dr. Rafael. And I would also like to greet everyone who are watching this activity organized by the Rotary Club of Greenfield District. It is an honor to be invited together with the other top universities in our country today. Thank you so much, Faith.
Dr. Stan, it is our honor. It's an honor for us for you to be here. Maraming salamat po for your time. At this point, we welcome our third panelist, the Vice President for the Public Affairs of the University of the Philippines. She has over 30 years of experience in communication and media education, research, planning, and evaluation. Her highly distinguished academic career focuses on building the capacities of students, local governments, health officials, health professionals, and civil society organizations to design, implement, and evaluate their own communication programs. She was the Dean of UPCMC, ang alamat ng UPCMC. Also the President of the Philippine Communication Society, an author, and an ardent believer in communicating correct science. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Elena E. Pernia, PhD.
Oh, thank you very much, Faith, and nakakahiya yung introduction mo. But, thank you very much for this invitation. I am honored to be here. And my greetings to my co-panelists. I am in such great company. Thank you for this invitation to the Rotary.
Ma'am, kami po ang truly humbled that you have chosen to allot 2 hours of your time this afternoon with us. Maraming salamat po. Now let us meet our fourth panelist. She is the Vice Director for Academic Affairs and a professor at the College of Rehabilitation Sciences of the University of Santo Tomas, Manila. Her leadership experience in higher education focused on navigating programs towards national and global competitiveness, responding to changing needs dictated by evolving policies, standards, educational context, and industry dynamics. She holds consultancy positions in the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, and the Professional Regulation Commission for more than 10 years. She is an assessor of the ASEAN University Network Quality Assurance, or AUNQA. Friends, please welcome Professor Cheryl R. Peralta, Doctor of Public Health.
Hi. Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation and for the opportunity to be part of this discussion. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat po. Last but not the least, our fifth panelist is Dean of the School of Science and Engineering of ATENEO de Manila University. He obtained his PhD in physics from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, in 2005 and holds the rank of professor at the Ateneo, where he has taught with the Department of Physics for 21 years. He was president of the Physics Society of the Philippines, or SPP, in 2011 and 2012. In 2013, he was recognized by the National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines as an outstanding young scientist. Please warmly welcome Rafael A. Guerrero, PhD.
Hi, Faith. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank the Rotary Club of Greenfield District for this invitation to participate in this afternoon's activity. I look forward to a fruitful discussion.
For sure, sir. With you, with all of you in the panel, it will be a fruitful and powerful afternoon. Maraming salamat po. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our panel. That is our panel. I am sure that, like me, you are so very excited to hear from them. Why don't we now meet that person who will mine the thoughts and insights from our distinguished panelists, our moderator. She is a multi-awarded entrepreneur, the president of AHEAD Education, and of the Rotary Club of Greenfield District. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Rosana Llanado, FICD.
Hello, I'm very excited to start this conversation. Thank you, Faith.
So with that, you've met our speakers. You've also met our moderators. If you have not invited your friends yet, then it's time to do so. And don't forget, share us on your wall and tag your friends in the Academy. Let me give you back our moderator, Rosana Llanado.
Good afternoon to our esteemed guests, dear panelists, and to all our viewers in the Philippines and maybe overseas. I hope you are having a great day today. I'm very excited to discuss how all of us have a good experience in our schools. School leaders, teachers, and students and parents, everyone learned many things. We adjusted, and now everyone learned how to be more flexible and shifted into online learning. Now that schools are opening, we can listen to others who have shifted ahead. So we can learn from them and we can all rise up. COVID hit schools hard, but it is time to move ahead and forward. It is not easy, but most actually survived. It will be a slow recovery with more periods of revision, transition, and confusion. This is where we are, leaving the shock, the hard parts, the lockdowns, but still tiptoeing to the normal. We are almost okay, but really not quite. We are in between, trying to cross over to a better, more stable future. Education is coming back, especially face to face. We all agree that the learning of our children cannot be impeded. It is why we have prepared for it. COVID-19 was the first crisis that literally paralyzed our schools with the rest of the society. It will not be the last. And foremost question on everyone's mind is, how do we cope? Fortify ourselves. Prepare in case there's another world-changing event. We will be hearing the answers and insights from veteran and experts from top universities in the Philippines, especially how they prepared for the opening of face-to-face school. Maybe all of us, can also learn from each other. In 2022, we had a chance to talk to Doctors Peralta and Paduhinog and Brother Bernie also on how to transition online. Now it is not just a matter of transitioning back. There are many things to consider, many changes. Among them, the safety of not just students and teachers, but school personnel as well. We want to know about the systems they put in case a surge happens again. We want to know how they intend to involve both parents and the communities in finding ways to protect themselves and each other in the occurrence of another epidemic. We want to know how there can be a feedback mechanism or communication system whereby the schools, parents, and teachers can collaborate and help each other during emergencies. Bayanihan and helping each other help the Filipinos flow through the pandemic. We can now do the same as we move forward. So, friends, let us begin with the first question. So maybe we can bring in our guests now. We want to hear from Dr. Stan and the others. Hello, Dr. Stan. So happy to see you again. Thank you for uh, coming here. And Brother Bernie, Dr.
Yes,
Pernia,
Rosana.
and Dr. Peralta. So, Dr. Stan, can you tell us about the physical changes that you implemented in your school in preparation for the face-to-face or hybrid?
Yes. Usually, of course, there are two major types of changes you make, no? The software, the hardware. I think you're referring, Rosanna, to hardware changes. No? But we also have to take note that resources are very scarce. I think my colleagues here will understand that you cannot just spend just to to absorb all the requirements. But one of the important criteria we use before I tell you the investments that we made is, are these investments useful for the long term? We just don't invest these scarce resources we have simply because it is needed. You have to evaluate whether the scarce money that you have will be useful, whether pandemic, monkeypox or no monkeypox, whatever. It is something that will be used for a long time. So what we did is some of the major changes that we decided to prepare the university for for face-to-face and blended sessions is the network infrastructure. So network infrastructures were really upgraded, no? And these network infrastructures will be useful for a long period of time. And we also made a policy that uh, no more desktops. Each teacher will have their own laptops so that they will be very mobile. And obviously, we will be using the health facilities, no? So setting aside provisions just in case there will be the need to isolate, no? So, and which is very quite costly. Many of my colleagues here will understand putting filters, no, inside the rooms, and especially where there are public gatherings. So we have to put those air filters all throughout to make sure that the air quality is more or less safe for everyone. So those are the primary hardwares that we have done, no, to make sure to prepare. Of course, we're still, as you said, Rosanna, we're still waiting, no, on what other things that may come our way that may require some critical investments. But it's very important for those who are listening here to always evaluate any major capex or capital expenditures you've got to make sure that this will be very useful, not only to address the blended requirement of schools or meaning face-to-face virtual, but also the one that will be benefit the community and the stakeholders over the long run. So that's it, Rosana. Thank you.
Perfect pala kayo ang nauna kong natanong, Dr. Stan, because from the economist's point of view, no? But let us also hear from Dr. Peralta, please.
Yes, so in addition to what Dr. Stan said, of course, the University of Santo Tomas, one good thing about our preparations was that we already had a learning management system even before the pandemic, and the support systems were likewise present. And we just had to enhance on all these support systems to our academic staff and students to transition to virtual mode, enriched virtual mode. But now that we're resuming classes in campus, prioritized for courses that will require face-to-face classes, that is mostly skills-based courses for those whose intended learning outcomes or competencies will need to be developed in person and cannot be fully developed with online delivery, then those are the ones that will come to campus. And here, of course, we have invested in mechanisms, as Dr. Stan also said, mechanisms to ensure that all minimum public protocols are complied with. So in our we took on an institutional approach, having led by our medical and health programs. So they were the ones who first started to implement our institutional health protocols, and these now have been improved and cascaded to the rest of our programs, including our basic education programs. So this allows us to likewise continuously improve on these health protocols and see how they can be refined. And as part of our commitment to our stakeholders, and hopefully to um, increase their confidence in the capability of the university to implement these minimum public health standards, the university has taken the initiative to apply for the CHED Safety Seal. And at the moment, we have 46 of our programs and specializations that have already been granted. This also helps our communicate to our stakeholders that it is a shared responsibility, not only by with the university, but likewise with all its stakeholders, to ensure that each and every one are safe, in terms of protecting themselves and others whenever they are inside or outside the university. So we still continue to improve the retrofitting of facilities in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. We will call Dr. Pernia and Brother Bernie last. So we'll call Dr. Guerrero for now. Dr. Guerrero.
We had to implement a system for contact tracing, and one of our computer science groups developed an app to monitor entry and movement within the campus. So I think it was a very useful tool to help us stay safe in terms of allowing who will be allowed into campus. We also coordinated with our local government unit to ensure that our safety policies were at par with government standards. So that included signages, having the flow of traffic within campus, within the buildings clearly indicated. And we had several visits from the Quezon City LGU just to ensure that everything was in place before we opened the campus for on-site classes and other activities.
Thank you. By the way, I think I forgot to mention that tama rin na si Dr. Peralta ngayon yung head ng UST because Doctor of Public Health, bagay na bagay talaga at this time of pandemic.
So, Dr. Nagkataon ba? Guerrero, noon kataon. Dr. Guerrero, I live right in front of Ateneo, kaya alam na alam ko yung mga ginagawa niyo. But I'm also curious about yung physical distancing, paano yung sa classrooms, ilan yung nakaupo na. But later on, we'll get back to you, no? Brother Bernie muna. Brother Bernie, can you talk about your
Akala,
many schools, no?
akala ko magiging huli ako kasi all of the above na eh. At least sa De La Salle University, meron kaming may isang benefactor na nag-donate para sa technology for future of education. Kaya ang bago naming, at least ito ang iba pa sa nasabi na ito ay fasilidad na para ang teachers makagawa ng mga modules na gumagamit ng mga high-tech equipment. So parang yung gagawa sila ng kanilang lectures or yung using different technologies, itong hall na to magagamit nila. Ang mahalaga talaga yung at magastos yung air filters kasi ang mga classrooms namin sa Taft air conditioned. Kaya may air filters saka air purifiers ang lahat ng classrooms at kada siguro ilang oras binubuksan yung mga pinto para yung air mamalinis. Invested rin kami sa maraming paglilinis ng pamantasan at saka ng mga eskwela. Yung De La Salle Zobel, meron silang ininvest na para sa hybrid classrooms na kalahati na doon sa loob ng classroom face-to-face, kalahati na nasa online. Yun, nagagawa na nila ngayon kasi nagbukas kami mga 2 linggo na nakalipas at tinitingnan namin ang effectivity ng ganitong modality ng pagtuturo. So far, mukhang okay naman ang ginagawa nila at baka ito nga ang maging parang future ng aming ang pagtuturo.
Thank you, Brother Oka. Ang dami niyong kasing campuses, no? Kaya hinuli ko kayo. Pero
pero ang maganda yung Lasal Bagak, talagang paaralan namin yun para sa mga hihirap, sa fisher folks. Kaya iba naman ang modality noon. Ang modality noon, kung ang mga bata na hindi makakapunta sa eskwela, modular yung system ng teaching pa rin nila. Pero meron pa rin kami pumupunta sa face-to-face. Kaya may whole range kami ng pagtuturo sa iba't ibang klase ng mga mag-aaral.
Thank you, Brother Bernie. Dr. Pernia, yung sa inyo po, kasi ang una-una ang daming campuses ng UP.
Yes.
And also, halos walang, very little po ang budget ng UP. Paano nyo nagagawa ito? Hindi ko maisip. So I really want to know.
Sige, yung budget, hiwalay yan, no? Pero kung sasabihin maliit ang budget ng UP, ang masasabi ko, what I can say is that the University of the Philippines gets its budget from the government. No? We are included in the national budgeting. But yes, you are right. No, like LaSalle and I guess Ateneo, we have campuses all over the Philippines. We have 8 constituent units and 17 campuses throughout. Some of our constituent units have basic education, from elementary to high school, and then of course our colleges. So these are different needs, and Brother Oka has already said that these are different, different modalities in the teaching for these different levels. But what I can say is, I will echo Brother Oka nung sinabi niyang all of the above. Yes, we've done all of the above. And then on top of that, on top of the learning management systems, we've also invested in libraries. So the university, we spent a lot for our Open Athens subscription, Science Direct. And these are made available to our students and to our faculty. So long as you are with the University of the Philippines, you can access these materials, from our physical changes including Diliman is in Quezon City, Manila is in Manila. We have Baguio, we have all over the Philippines, and the rules of each LGU are different. Like Ateneo, Diliman had to go through an assessment by the local government of Quezon City because there are impositions on on ingress, egress, on the capacity of each room. In some of our other campuses, they are whereas we follow and we strictly enforce some physical distancing, wearing of the masks, and then filters and ventilations in the rooms. There are some areas that are just stricter than others. No, so oh, nga pala, and also we have our medical campus in Manila, where the investments, in in teaching equipment have been really tremendous. The use of dummies, for the medical class, in dentistry as well. No, so investments in the dental chairs so that they conform with the requirements for health safety. These have really been tremendous. So. It's really been such a wide range, of investments that the university has done. And this is not to talk about the laptops that we have made available to our faculty, to our staff, and then to our qualified students as well. And also the allowances for internet connection. So it really runs the entire range.
Gusto ko rin idagdag, ang bida ngayon sa campuses, ang safety and security at saka yung clinic or yung medical. Sila yun ang nagsasabi sa amin na ito dapat gawin, ito dapat gawin. Pati ako minsan sinasabihan, brother.
Yes.
Ganyan.
Hindi pwede.
Sila ang mga bida ngayon.
That's right.
Yeah.
May I add how strict it is also, no? In UP, meron kaming isang event dito sa Diliman na before the event started, pumasok ang University Health Service at pinosisyon ang mga electric fan na hindi niya gawin. Kasi itong electric fan na ito will blow the air out of the room. So talagang walang galawan ng electric fan, walang galawan. So, it is that micro that our university paid attention, to the safety protocols.
Pero ang mahirap yung mga estudyante talaga, yung social distancing, napakahirap i-implement yan kasi sabik na sabik sila sa pagkita pagdating nila, ay wala na, yan, nag-embrace na, nagkakuha. Pati ako naglalakad, nagmamano sila. Ngayon sinasabi ko, no touch muna, no touch.
I don't know why, Brother Bernie, they're so strict, no? When in fact, when you go to the restaurants, the movie houses, they're all packed there, no? Then why do they have to impose it on schools? It's a little bit inconsistent, no? Well, as Rosana said, it creates a lot of confusion. I don't know what they have anything against schools.
Ilalabas na tanong yan.
Yeah. The LGUs are different in their For example, Quezon City is so strict. And then we had our graduations, our first face-to-face graduations, all over the UP system. And in Mindanao, for example, magkakatabi naman kami, nakamask naman, pinayagan it's just very different across the country.
Yan, yung mga face-to-face graduation, di na nangyayari na yan kasi sabi ng mga magulang at saka mag-aaral, gusto na namin mag-face-to-face graduation. Ang hirap naman kasi kailangan so many people lang doon sa venue. So ilang beses ka mag-graduate ng isang batch. Ako'y matanda na, napapagod ako na nakatindig at magbigay ng diploma. Pero talagang ang laking hirap talaga yun.
Yes.
Pero kailangan gawin kasi nga striktong-strikto.
That's right.
Yes.
Yung mga sunflowers namin dito sa Diliman, naku, nadumog na uli kasi, no? Well, for those of you who don't know, sunflowers are the symbol, one of the symbols of our commencement exercises at UP. And every year, tiyempong-tiyempo yan, it is scientific. Kailan ipaplant na para impunto doon sa
Oo, oo.
But this year, nako, dumami na talaga nagsisipuntahan dito para their
Oo.
courses with the sunflower. So that also, I said that because that indicates the level of interest of our students not to come, for
Oo,
some kind of
oo.
interaction.
Oo. Pero meron pa rin tayong mga estudyante na namimili na gusto nila yung online. Nagtaka nga kami kasi binigyan namin ng choice at sa tingin namin, kakonti lang to. Sa surprise namin, marami rin sila na gusto pa rin ng online.
That's true. Yeah. Yung sa amin nga rin in Diliman, only 3,000 were allowed because yun lang ang capacity. As you know, our Diliman campus has the largest number of graduates. So marami pa rin nag-online. Because online will never go away. At least in the case of the University of the Philippines, whether it is for graduation or for classes, online or some form of online will be here to stay.
Oo. Kaya ang may mga taga-CHED na nakikinig yata dito na kailangan pa kung gusto natin mag-online courses, kailangan humingi pa tayo ng permiso at lahat. Kung sana pwedeng dali-dalian nila at maintindihan naman nila na, payagan na ninyo ang mga pamantasan ng pagbigay ng online courses.
Yes.
Please weigh in more, Dr. Peralta, as a doctor of public health.
Yes. I just to our heads of universities here. I think that's really our experience. Of course, students are very excited. We've seen them very excited coming back to campus, and I think that's also important for them to have a sense of belonging to a community. It's also important as part of values formation, social skills. So we are actually very happy to have been given the chance to offer this to them again. But of course, it's cautious optimism, as they say. We're very cautious about implementing resumption to campus because we are aware that we're still in the pandemic and that there are still people who get sick. And we don't know actually. Because they can get it anywhere, as Dr. Stan said, you can that it seems that it's not very strict anymore in restaurants, in malls, but in the university or in the schools, we still need to implement all these as part of our due diligence, in fact, to protect our staff and our students as we try to navigate this new environment combinations in implementing teaching and learning, right? So I think it's a very good learning process for everyone because now we value flexibility. We know that we can achieve our goals in so many ways, not just through uh, the usual face-to-face classes we used to do before the pandemic started. Now we understand that we can actually teach and learn anywhere, anytime. So, and that we can maximize technology while still is enough in-person engagements that will help in the total formation of our students. And all of these will have to be done within the context of protecting our own health and not just physical at that, no? So even mental health concerns are also a part of what we look into. And we think that students' presence inside the campus, having knowledge or interactions with their classmates and their teachers help improve also somehow their mental health because they can physically see the support systems available to them.
Yan,
Brother.
ladies first.
I just wanted to add something about wellness concerns. Now, this pandemic showed us that the lack of our experts, who are psychologists, are psychiatrists, the within the university alone, we found that there was a big cry, for people, faculty, students, and staff, to talk to somebody, So these wellness concerns are not just for our students; they're for everyone.
And,
After all, everybody was affected by the pandemic, and we soon realized that the waiting time to speak to a psychologist or a psychiatrist is just so long, and and that indicates, one area of education or of expertise that the country needs. There must be more encouragement for, you know, for uh, for developing, people in this line of work.
At yun yung talagang idadagdag ko rin, yung mental health at saka wellness. Ang ginawa namin sa unang araw ng eskwela, may mga forum, no? Ang unang-unang tinalakay ang mental health, yung tinatawag nating psychological first aid. Kasi yung mga estudyante, bagong pasok dating yan sa bagong environment na naman eh. Kaya kailangan din nila ng tulong. So pagkatapos doon, then siguro yung mga individuals na, totoo talaga yung sinasabi ni Dr. Pernia na hindi natin alam kung gaano kalalim ang tama sa atin ng pandemya. At ang iba nga, akala mo magaling, pero sa loob nila, hindi nila alam na kailangan lang pala nila ng health, ng mental wellness. Kaya hindi natin masasabi na akala mo yung kasama mo okay, pero natamaan din yan eh. So mahalaga na yung mga estudyante natin, lahat ng tao sa ating communities, merong help for mental wellness, mental health and wellness.
Yes, I like to also share our experience, to like what Dr. Pernia and Brother Bernie said. There's a shortage of experts, But what is important is to catch them early, especially the students and the employees. For our students, we have a specific group, we call them peer, and they are trained. They are trained by our guidance counselors, which is, very short in supply. So our guidance counselors try to train them more or less to detect among their peers, among their students who exhibit those problems. Because some of the students, as what Brother Bernie said, are keeping it to themselves, and they would rather share it with their friends. So it's quite effective if there is this partnership with the student orgs to more or less help spot the students that need really assistance. At least it multiplies the effort given the limited resources that you have. That means the guidance counselor, the health officers there will have to train our students. And of course, we have to take care of our faculty and our staff as well, using what we call the mentoring, more or less, activity we have from time to time to catch also those who need help. This is a very important thing, I think, all universities right now are facing. I do appreciate that we are discussing this here as well. Yeah.
I just like to add one more because sabi ni Dr. Stania about having peers, we've had all our experiences about that one, and when I was dean of the College of Mass Communication, but this was pre-pandemic. One of the things that we put into a program was to was also to train our admin staff. In truth, our students have a lot of interaction with our admin people. And many times, itong admin natin, mas kilala pa ang mga estudyante. Sometimes more than other faculty members. And sila, because, the treatment is ate, kuya, or mommy. Pero kami kasi mga mommy ang tinatawag, they understand, the back.
Yung dagdag ko dyan sa amin, yung security guard, yung mga naghihintay ng mga estudyante na susunduin. Maraming security guard na nakikilala yung mga bata kasi lahat kasama nila araw-araw.
Ang Ateneo po meron ring peers for students. How about for the faculty and for teachers and staff, meron rin po bang parang peers din sa Ateneo, Dr. Guerrero?
We learned early on that a lot of problems during online learning, the pandemic, could be addressed just by communication. So, for example, there are instances where students will never get in touch with their teacher throughout the semester, and because of that, this lack of communication, there is uncertainty about their academic standings, about how to move forward. The same is true for our faculty members. So our some faculty members remain silent about their own concerns, but that's why we encourage them just to reach out to their department chairs or their colleagues in the department just to voice out any concerns. So there was a concerted effort just to have different venues, town halls, kamustahan sessions, just to get feedback from everyone, students, faculty members, and staff. We do have faculty mentors, faculty counselors available. They are trained in coordination with our Office of Guidance and Counseling so that they're prepared to address any concerns. But I think, as mentioned before, the numbers are pretty low. So the density of faculty members available for this role is still in need of expansion. So we need more people who are equipped to deal with these mental health issues.
At saka, gusto ko rin idagdag na yung kailangan meron din tayong disiplina na maghanap ng oras para sa sarili. Kasi gawa nitong virtual, lahat ng meetings, sunod-sunod na, hindi katulad doon nakakapagpahinga ka pa kasi maglalakad ka sa isang venue or magkakuan ka. So, sunod-sunod. Ikalawa, yung emails. Walang tigil ang emails. Kaya pagkatapos itong session na to na 2 oras, makikita mo ang haba-haba na ng listahan ng emails na dapat mong sagutin. Kaya kailangan humanap ng oras para makapagpahinga, maka-relax ng konti. Kaya yun, siguro kung di manggagaling at dapat manggagaling yan sa administration, no? Kaya kami pag Biyernes ng hapon, sinasabi namin, wala nang meetings, wag na tayo magkamustahan tayo pwede, pero walang trabaho as much as possible. Sinasabi rin namin sana walang email pag Sabado at Linggo, pag Lunes na lang ang sagot ng email, pero mukhang mahirap gawin.
Yeah, I am in total agreement with brother. Well, when working from home, what happens is you're working all the time. So during the height of the pandemic, when we're all online, working from home meant you were working all the time. So there was no boundary anymore between the office and home. Yeah, it was also my fault, as brother mentioned. Wish time for you, time for work. But when you're always online, there's always that email you have to answer. There's always that meeting that's next to another meeting. So with Zoom meetings, we can do it back to back. We've forgotten that we need time to recover from discussions.
Yung iba nga sabay-sabay eh. Pero ng isa nag-meeting sa isa tapos
oo nga eh. Yeah. Oo eh. Pero kami sa UP, merong memo na nilabas ang Vice President for Administration na talagang 8 to 5. Except, pero syempre, may iba dyan na talagang 24/7, no? Pero yun, and it's also yung following the civil service code.
Pero tayo walang 8 to 5 tayo, 24/7.
So sa inyo nararamdaman natin yan na nasa tayo. Pero how about the teachers na meron na nga silang face-to-face classes, meron pa silang online? What do we do about that? Paano ba yun? Nadadagdagan ba yung sweldo nila? Or nababawasan ba yung load nila? Binawasan ba yung topics that they have to discuss? Or binawasan ba yung time? Or ano po yung ginawa niyo para doon sa mga teachers na I'm sure nahirapan din sa ganitong setup?
Oo. Ang mahalaga yung teacher training na meron silang confidence na gagawin ang sa panibagong modality na ito, no? Kasi may pagbabago, pero yung pagtaas ng sweldo depende yan sa tuition natin, at hindi naman natin pwedeng pataasin yung tuition kasi yung mga magulang naman maraming naghihirap kasi nawalan ng trabaho o nawalan ng business. Kaya nagtutulungan na lang ang eskwela at saka ang magulang at saka ang mga guro na pagkaunawaan. Meron namang kaunting taas ng sweldo pero hindi naman masyadong mataas para ipasok sa tuition fees. So, ang teacher training. And then, so tinitingnan namin, nakailang linggo na kami yung ginagawa ngayong hybrid. Tapos, tinitingnan namin kung anong mas mabuting gawin, evaluate and see how tweak it para mas maganda ang delivery ng learning.
Paano po ba yung ginawa nyo? Magkahiwalay po yung section ng naka-online sa
parehong section nila. Pareho ang section nila. So, itong araw na to, itong grupong ng estudyante papasok, pero yung isang grupo nandoon sa bahay. Tapos sa susunod naman na linggo ay paliktad.
Yun yung solution for yung space dahil doon sa physical distancing.
Yan yung isa. Pero yung isa naman na kung walang technical capabilities, yung face to face, diyan talaga ang question and answer at saka yung mga lectures. Tapos yung nasa bahay na wala doon, na hindi ginagawa asynchronously yung trabaho. Tapos pag sila naman, then yun naman ang face to face lecture and question and answer.
I heard na yung ibang schools kasi, let's say, pinapapasok nila yung mga students nila just for yung mga dapat physically, halimbawa PE or laboratory. Pero paano kung halimbawa nagdo-dorm, na halimbawa ang pasok mo lang, nandun ka lang sa dorm mo, malayo ka sa family mo, pero ang pinapasukan mo lang, 1 or 2 subjects lang in a week. Paano kaya yung pagkaganon po?
Well, our approach in the Ateneo was to have 3 modes of learning. The default would be on-site. As much as possible, we want students back in the classroom to enjoy the campus, interact with each other. Then we had to offer online sections for students with comorbidities, students who can't go on site due to health reasons. Then we could also accommodate a mix of on-site and online students. We call it flex. So you would have students on site, and you also interact with students at home who are with the class online. Now, it's unavoidable that some students will then have a variety of courses. Some might have on-site courses, others would have online classes. So we dedicated certain rooms in the library and some buildings for students to stay in while they're attending online classes in between their on-site sessions. So that's one solution. And with the limitations in space, we realized that even if we wanted to go on site, there wouldn't be enough classrooms because we couldn't accommodate all the students at any given time. So we had to convert some sections to purely online. So we added some online sections due to space restrictions. So we have these special areas for online students in between their on-site classes.
In the case of the UP, we will be implementing 3 types of blended. Blended is the word in the university now. 3 modalities of blended learning. One blended is the blended online. It's really online, but it's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. Then there is the blended block learning, which combines yung face-to-face with online. Which means that some of our courses, you may practicum, studio, laboratories, there are blocks. So there will be mga like Ateneo and LaSalle, there will be a number who will come physically to use the laboratories on a particular day. And then these are complemented with synchronous and asynchronous online. And then the next batch will come the next day. What we've done is really to reduce the sizes of our classes. So it's so what we will be implementing is really a combination. As I said earlier, there will be no purely face to face in the UP. It will be some kind of combination. And as to your question kanina, no, how do we give our faculty increases in their salaries? Hindi namin pwede gawin yun, gobyerno kami, no? No, kasi na covered kami ng government ng SSL. No, but what we have done, particularly at the start of the pandemic, was to reduce the teaching load of our students. No, normally ang normal classes ng mga estudyante is 15, so ni-reduce yan to 12. There was an impact also on the teaching of our faculty as well, no, smaller classes, and then so yun, and then support, no, support for the training in how to teach online. No, because not everybody knew how to do that. We have the Open University, which is a great resource. No, because from them we were able to adopt and adapt, no, other training modalities. We've also experimented in other ways to deliver. Now we have TVUP. I'm very proud to say that we have TVUP, which is going to go satellite. We have signed a memorandum of agreement with a major network, no, a satellite network, to bring our some of our content, no, courses as well as educational materials, open educational materials available to to the public, and for those schools who are interested, in using our materials, now you are free to do so. So that's what we have done. Not increase the salaries of our faculty, but have given them, some hindi naman pwedeng incentives ang tawag doon, no? Pero some leeway in adjusting, their responsibility.
In relation to that, ma'am, nagdagdag ba kayo or nagbawas? Maybe ng teachers and staff also.
Hindi kami pwede magbawas ng mga
hindi kayo pwede magbawas. Nagdagdag ba kayo?
In fact nga, may mga programa na nagdagdag ng kanilang part-time. Yung part-timers namin ng mga lecturers. Kasi nga kung paliit ang mga lalo na ngayon na mag-face-to-face na, liliit ang mga class sizes, kasi kailangan mo mag-hire pa ng mga part-time teachers. So, yun ang pwede namin gawin. No? So there are other ways for us to increase our faculty complement. Of course, going online and using other platforms to deliver courses is another solution to this one.
Yes.
Yung sa amin, sa De La Salle, meron kaming yung core curriculum, yung mga core courses, lahat yon online. So hindi na kailangan, hindi face-to-face or hindi hybrid. Yung mga laboratories, yung PE, yan kailangan all face-to-face. Pero meron din yung hybrid. Yung sa tanong mo na kung ikaw ay boarder, parang dalawa lang yung klase mo na papasukan, marami din papasukang klase. At saka, kung gusto na magawa ng research at yung mga group studies nila, may mga facilities naman doon sa pamantasan. At ang mahalaga, yung extracurricular at co-curricular. Kaya pupunta pa rin sila sa pamantasan para yung kanilang paghalubilo sa kapwa, yun pwede nilang gawin. In fact, mas gusto nga nila pumunta sa eskwela, not to go to the classrooms, pero para sa extracurriculars.
Yes, I think it's very important to first take as been discussed, to take first an original position. There is a preference, I think, really for face to face, no? And then from face to face, you try to see from there the special circumstances of the students, and then where the adjustments are made. No? But when you say face to face, similar to what you said, it's for us every other week. No, they go to school. No, but what we notice is that because of their subjects, they end up going to school almost every day in the week. So you try to see that, but what we also discovered, actually we share exactly the same approach. But what we discovered also that we need to do, maybe just to add in a discussion, is to really ask about the excuses of those who would like to be at home. No? Because
Online.
sometimes it's not really legitimate that it's not in accordance already to the regulations that you have to be stay at home. They find all the excuse to stay at home. So we want to make sure that those who are really staying at home are really based on legitimate reasons, not because they
Yeah.
are, for example, they are abroad. No, they are somewhere there
Mm.
in a
Yeah.
vacation house, no, in somewhere in the islands in the Philippines. No? Just want to make sure
Mm.
that we declare the policy, preferably face to face. All of you should be in school. Then you
Mm.
adjust the delivery depending on the availability of those. Of course, it's every other week, no? As much as possible,
Mm.
ideally. But based on the last uh, 10 days of class, it seems that there are still some students who end up reporting to school
Mm.
almost every week, every day,
Mm.
because of the, even though it's alternating, but at least it reduces the capacity of the capacity utilization of the facilities. And I understand the inefficiencies that it brings about, no, the need to train our teachers, also to consider if we need to reduce the load of the students or even the teachers. No, it's something that we would
Mm.
like to learn as we go
Mm.
along. We just have to be
Yeah.
flexible, as what Dr. Cheryl said earlier, to be flexible and to study
Yes.
as we go along. No?
Yes.
Merong
And I think,
question.
oh,
Oh,
yes.
sige.
Yes, go
Cheryl,
ahead.
Dr.
baka ikaw
Puhalta, sige.
maganda, baka maganda
Sige.
ikaw sumagot nito yung question sa screen. Cheryl.
Health protocol daw po. What's the health protocol in the event that the teacher or student got exposed? I think clear naman po yun, no, in the provided minimum public health standards, and most of the schools having the alternative flexible learning approaches like online or modular have the capacity to suspend they do identify a symptomatic individual or a positive case or someone who has tested positive for COVID within the cohort. So that's what's good about having protocols in place that identify cohorts of students who goes into each classroom, who's the teacher in that classroom, and then the capability to determine for reporting purposes who actually got sick. So, for example, in the University of Santo Tomas, we have this ID tapping system.
Yeah.
So we have an online system wherein our academic units encode the names of students who belong to a cohort and who stay inside one room, together with the teachers who are with them. And then because we are a relatively big population in one single campus, we have to have a system that will allow us to screen students upon entry to the building. So when they tap their IDs, the system will detect if they have uploaded their vaccination cards in the system, if they have accomplished the health declaration form, if they have been cleared. That means they do not have symptoms or have no exposures, and then if they also have there's a temperature check, of course. Now and then if they are part of the cohort that is scheduled for the day. Now, in case at the end of the day, someone gets symptomatic, because it could be because of several reasons, no? So it's not just because when you get fever, it's automatically
Yeah.
COVID, but because of the weather also, there are people, there are
Yeah.
flu and other illnesses. So once they get symptomatic, they report to the system that they have symptoms, and then we're working on this becoming a flag for the rest that they also have to observe themselves, because it's a shared responsibility. That's a reality. So for now, what we do is we shift back to online just for safety purposes, and then we disinfect if in case if it is a case that has tested to be positive, for example, because our health service monitors the system, gives also the advice to the student on what probably medical services they might need and when they need to have themselves tested. And then of course, for everyone's safety, everyone just monitors themselves. And the students and the teachers get used to that system of being able to quickly shift online. Because what's good about the past 2 years is we've already had materials available. So the teachers have already developed this. So they're really not preparing two types of materials now, because the online materials they've actually prepared before, and they are just somehow improving on them. But right now there are sessions face to face that they will also need to do. So that means they have that backup plan whenever they need to shift back online and then come back to here. These protocols are very important, especially the medical support for students and academic staff and even university staff who get sick, no, not just for COVID but for other illnesses as well. It's very important that they are referred to the proper services, they're given the proper guidance, and then the rest of our containment protocols are strictly implemented. So that's very important. And that has to be a shared responsibility of everyone, not just the school. That's what we always emphasize. No? So while we may have protocols in school, it's all of us doing this together. So all of us should understand why we do this, how to do this, and how we improve moving forward.
Mhm. Of course, yung mga students natin, faculty and the staff, we are all communicating to them, di ba? But how about yung mga parents or kasama ng mga students natin sa bahay? What if they are not as careful? Dr. Pernia, can you help us in kasi sa communication, yung sa communication processes or importance of communication, paano ba i-communicate to ng mas maayos ng mga nakikinig, ng nasa audience natin? Paano nila papayuhan yung mga tao on how to be careful para makatuloy-tuloy na tayo dito sa face-to-face school natin?
Okay. Nice that you asked that question. No? So, when the pandemic struck in 2020, my team and I began with the OST, the OH. Pangalan pa nga nun was the AHEAD project, a communication campaign. No, at that time it wasn't certain pa when the vaccinations would come, but we did a full communication study to develop that campaign. And one of the one of the greatest values that we found that drives Filipinos to change behaviors is love, never fear. No, so it's love. So may tagline kami. Kung mahal kasi kung mahal basta because I love you, I will get myself vaccinated. Because I love you, that is the senior talking to the senior citizen talking to the rest of the members. No, kasi if you remember, seniors were among the first to get vaccinated. No, because I love you, I'm going to go and get vaccinated. And then when vaccination expanded to the rest of the population, it was that idea. Because I love you, I love our family, I'm going to go and get vaccinated. When children were not yet, when there was no such thing as pediatric vaccination, the same thing came out. No? Because I love you, a parent will go get vaccinated so that the child doesn't get unnecessarily exposed to COVID. So if you're asking what is the key value that can drive behavior, it is positive positive values, and love is one of them. Okay, in fact, we submitted this to the OH, to the OS, to PCHRD, no, and all our materials are there. No, so I think that answers your question. No, what communication value needs to be put out, to convince people to do healthy behaviors, whether it is for COVID or for any other vaccination or any other public health concern. On the part naman of the University of the Philippines, we found when we did a survey of our students regarding their vaccinations, they're very obedient. There were some from the qualitative responses. Some students would say that I'm waiting for my family's decision, whether to get vaccinated or not. So from that, what you can see is that the communication for vaccination, COVID or otherwise, is not to be the targets are not individuals. The targets are really a social unit, and in our case, it is the family.
Mm. Any addition to that?
I'm mahaba yung study namin, pero okay, let's do it.
Oo, ang ganda, ang
Sa
ganda.
sa De La Salle Zobel at saka sa De La Salle Integrated School, meron kaming yung family portal at doon nilalagay ang lahat ng information tungkol sa nangyayari sa school at lalong-lalo na tungkol sa protocols. At diyan naman, nagko-communicate sila. Ang mga magulang namin ay hindi tatahimik. Laging silang magsasalita, laging nasasabihin sa amin, ito ang naiisip namin, ito dapat ninyong gawin at lahat. At bukas, at alam nila yan, kultura namin yan, bukas na bukas kami sa mga komento nila. Kaya yung communication sa tingin ko, open and healthy.
Meron na namang isang question daw. Okay, flash naman ng konti pa. I understand the sentiments of the school administrations regarding the adjustment for this school year, not just from staff training, resources, etc. And I think we will agree that school heads, teachers, parents, and students were not given enough time to transition in terms of these adjustments. We also were not given full support by Education Department. Parang we were just given guidelines to follow and then left on our own. We are with you po in our desire to allow the kids to go back. Ay, hindi pala siya question. Ang ganda. Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Oo. Ayan. Is it really compulsory for all teachers to get vaccinated? And kinakailangan ba talaga ang booster?
At least for the CHED memorandum, please correct me if I'm wrong. No? So for the CHED memorandum, vaccination is who would like to participate in face-to-face classes. So malinaw yon, no? So those who have to work on site will definitely have to get themselves vaccinated. Although at the moment, the definition of fully vaccinated individuals is just if they have completed the primary doses, whether 1 dose or 2 doses, depending on the vaccine that they took. Not yet the booster.
Yung boosted are called up to date, no? So the requirement is for fully vaccinated, no? But then yung up to date is when you have your first, and if you qualify, your second
booster.
Yeah, I think what is critical in a situation like this, I think among universities, is to make sure, and we want to make sure in UNP that this policy also is not discriminatory, because there are some who really would not prefer to be vaccinated for various reasons, no? And of course, I don't know, I'm also many of my colleagues here also feel the constraints of those who would like to go to school, but unfortunately the CHED guideline says that they have to be vaxxed. I hope it can be studied again if it's possible, that even those who are not vaxxed, no, may have that privilege because they like to go to school. But again, yes, Brother Bernie.
Pero yung DepEd, walang discrimination. Pwedeng pumasok ang unvaccinated na estudyante. Pero sa higher education, nakakapagtaka nga, no? Sa higher education, hindi. Pero sa DepEd, pwede.
It's something that is also curious, no? But why the difference between the two, when in fact, in my personal opinion, the people on the higher education, meaning those who go to school, are more responsible than the kids. How kids are, no? But they are all going to school, whether you're vaxxed or unvaxxed. Maybe I know. For me personally, I do feel the sentiments of those who would like to go to school. There are students who would like to go to school, but they are unvaxxed. So we have to create another special provision for them. To use the blended format, but when in fact we have a number of them, we even have documents that the doctor says that they cannot really be vaccinated because for the dangers of their health. No? But unfortunately, we cannot discriminate. It's very important to open the doors to allow everyone. No? access to education, no, given the situation that we are facing. But I think maybe if some CHED people will be around here to look at the other side, no, to look at DepEd. No? Why is DepEd more daring, no, in terms of pushing for that policy and then try to restrict it here at the side of
Kasi,
the
ka-
higher
kasi ang
education, brother?
kasi
I
ang,
don't know.
ang Secretary of Education is the Vice President siguro.
Okay.
Hindi,
Okay.
ang natutunan rin natin bilang mga administrators sa pandemic, yung being flexible in our decision making. Kasi talagang mabubuhay na tayo sa disruptions eh. So even ang ating response time, nagagawa na natin kasi nga gawa nitong pandemic. So itong mga pagbabago, marami rin mga pag-iiba dyan eh. Kaya yung ating decision making kailangan din mabilis. At meron din tayong laging may yung ears on the ground na pag may nakita tayo na discover na bagong research o pananaliksik tungkol sa pangyayari ngayon o ikabubuti pa. Alam rin natin yan para nga mas mabilis tayo mag-decide. So yun din ang natutunan ko na administration, governance, we have become more agile and flexible in our decision making because things change so fast.
That's right.
Correct.
Pareho rin ho. Halimbawa, again, biglang nagkaroon na naman ng lockdowns. Na sobra-sobra. Paano na naman kaya yung
Hindi na
gagawin? Let's
siguro-
say, naging 6 months yung back lockdown.
No, sa tingin ko, Dr. Stan, ikaw, hindi na magla-lockdown yan. Natuto na
No.
yatang gobyerno natin na
Yes,
hindi na
yes.
magla-lockdown kahit anong mangyari.
As an economist, it's suicide to do
That's right.
that.
Yeah.
Because our industry is heavily damaged right now. There are many are moving. Inflation is very high. Interest rates are very high. The currency is depreciating. Then you slow down the economy by shutting it down. I think it's not the solution, as Brother Bernie said. I think it's a theoretical possibility, but if the moment we consider that, I think we will have a serious economic crisis. No? If that
Actually, our president said na no more lockdowns. Pero in that case, this is for my personal question. Will there be college entrance exams in that case?
Yeah, meron na.
Yes.
Meron na.
Meron na.
Naiba yata kami sa UP.
Oh.
Kasi while we are still our different university councils are discussing yung whether having the exam or using we call it UPCAT, that's the University of the Philippines College Admission Test, or versus what we have been implementing the past 2 years, the UPCA, which is the University of the Philippines College Admission, using grades in yung performance. Ang problema namin, 200,000 ang mga nag-a-apply, 100,000, 100,000. It was already problematic before the pandemic, but what we did then was to field our examiners, to different parts of the country and the world, to administer the UPCAT. But with the pandemic, we had to look at alternatives. Our alternative was the UPCA, which was the result of talagang a thorough study of our experts in statistics, mathematics, including yung aming mga education experts, to come up with an algorithm, which was tested, retested, looking at students who did take the UPCAT, and how well the UPCA predicted, their performance. So, in our case, while the decision is not yet out, about having college admission tests for next school year, we are nonetheless preparing for a test not this coming, but for subsequent in 2023.
So not this year for you,
the final decision, we're still waiting kasi for the university councils of some of our CUs to come out with with their decision. Because as I said, we are 8 constituent units across the country, and to decide this has to be throughout the system. So this is fully discussed in the university councils of our 8 CUs. So hindi pa sila tapos lahat.
Thank you. How about the others? Is it also the same? It's on now this year or next year pa? Ay, Brother Bernie.
Brother Bernie, you're on
unmute.
mute.
May cut. May D-cut kami sa darating na.
This one, this year.
Oo.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm very, very happy to know.
For
Kasi
the
nagsarap po
step,
kami ng 2 years.
Oo.
Because of
years,
Yeah.
yeah, for those step, we are still we have yet to present the proposal to the University Crisis Management Committee for approval. So if approved, we might resume those step for admission of freshmen for academic year 23-24.
Okay. So aside from the college entrance test, let's talk about the kinds of tests that you will give to students. What will be the format? Halimbawa, hindi po ba parang nakaka-advantage naman yung naka-online ng mga estudyante versus do sa mga nasa on-site? Paano po yung test nila ng mga taga-online? Medyo unfair yata yung part,
Yeah.
di ba?
Giving appropriate assessments and accurately gauging performance of students, these have been very challenging aspects of online education. I'm sure we've seen in our different universities how grades have tended toward higher levels in the years during the pandemic as compared to pre-pandemic times. And this has a lot to do with our assessments. So during online classes, for mathematics classes, for example, we tried everything. We would have cameras at multiple viewing angles, but still students would be creative and find ways to go around that system of monitoring how they solved exams. We would also face concerns about having separate Zoom sessions. So we would have a class taking an exam, and the students would be on a separate Zoom session with a tutor of some sort. So there were cases of those in some classes. So our teachers then had to adjust the types of questions. For problem solving classes, it was a bit difficult because it was really practical in nature. But for other courses, the questions became more conceptual, trying to have the students describe concepts rather than just go through a problem. So our teachers have to also be creative in developing questions for online exams. But as we return to on-site classes, the plan really is to have assessments on campus as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's why we try to have distinct sections: on-site students only or online students only. But of course, for those mixed sections, we will have our faculty try to be fair in having these assessments, really monitor performance for both types of students, whether online or on-site. Now, it was mentioned before that it's unlikely that we will go into another lockdown, and that's very happy news. But still, flexibility is key. So even for our classes now, if students, for example, are prevented from going on site because of health reasons, they can still go. There's a default mode of going online again. So we will have courses still available online, materials through our learning platform, so that students, the continuity of education is assured, even if there's any reason for students not being able to come to campus. We're still trying out ways to improve assessments, and hopefully, as we go with more on-site courses, we'll have a better set of mechanisms available for testing our students.
Do you have the same experience, Dr. Peralta, in your university where students get high grades now? Kasi I thought that medyo mabababa yung grades ng iba because medyo nahirapan sila online na ano yung mental health problem, yung concentration sa bahay, maraming distraction,
Yes,
walang proper
yes,
guide.
yes.
Paano
Yeah. Yes, I think there may be several reasons for the changes in the patterns of academic performance as measured by grades. So we'll remember that at least for the batch that just graduated last academic year, this is the batch that went through K to 12. So they had 2 additional years of preparation in basic ed. They're essentially more mature when they entered college, and they had more experience with the use of technology for education. So these are the students who are very good in making videos. They are very good in using technology to find resources kasi that's already integrated in the senior high school curriculum. And then they entered OBE in tertiary. So essentially there are changes also in the curriculum in tertiary.
Sorry, Dr. Peralta, yung OBE is for others na
Outcomes-based
Outcome based.
education. Yes, sorry.
for
For outcome-based education in tertiary. So we changed the curriculum in tertiary. We had different expectations already for students, knowing that they also came from a 12-year basic education curriculum. No? So we have yet to evaluate the effect of that change when the pandemic came in. So we had to change all our strategies. We changed our assessments. In fact, to also mitigate the possibility of students actually being creative in taking exams. A lot of our courses moved to authentic, which is also aligned with outcomes based education. No, we moved
Mhm.
to authentic assessments, more
Mhm.
holistic assessments, wherein
Mm-mm.
they are
Mm-mm.
asked to come up with outputs, and most of
Yes.
these outputs had to make use of technology also. No, so students come up with they're very creative in terms of coming up with video presentations, vlogs, writing papers, because there are a lot of preparations for these in their previous years. So knowing all these things that could have affected the way we measured academic performance of students, at least in the recent years during the pandemic, it might be for us in the university, it might be premature to actually just judge the numbers by the patterns of the grades shifting uh, essentially up, interpret the grades together with our evaluation of the implementation of the curriculum, at least for the first round of the tertiary curriculum after K to 12. We might see that in fact maybe there are really students who performed really well in the implementation, and then this might also help us in improving the assessments, because we're thinking maybe our rubrics might not be that discriminating, or maybe the questions that we've been using may not be that discriminating between the really really good students and the average students. So that's why we have somehow seen such a change in the pattern of grades. So these are things, and there are also other factors like of course there's the pandemic, and uh, uh, also academic staff had to transition their usual rating procedures or assessment procedures to a new procedure, and so we expect also some adjustments in the way they have conducted all these processes. So I believe that thorough evaluation of our experience would help us
Mhm.
also understand all these, no. And yung constructive alignment kasi talaga nung ano ba yung intention natin na magawa ng
Mhm.
estudyante, and are our assessments actually measuring
Yeah.
those
Yes.
intended
Yes.
outcomes, 'di ba? Kasi ultimately yun siya So yun nga, I agree, as what Sir Rafael said. If even for online courses that we do in the university, we still prefer the site assessments, because when they go to take the board exams, when they take the let's say certification examinations, or when they even take the exams when they apply for a job, they need that skill. It's different when you take it online, when you take an exam online, compared to when you take it pen and paper. And that is also the feedback of our students who took the board exam after a hiatus, no. So
Mhm.
parang sabi nila, iba talaga, iba yung feeling ng nagsashade ka, paper and pen, no? So that's very important, I think. So it's good to have them back and have them practice that skill again.
I think,
Yung
yes,
na, ikaw
brother,
na,
go ahead.
ikaw na, ikaw na.
You know, I do share the concern of assessments, no? Because there are really certain skills that cannot be addressed, I don't know, with even though it's outcome based, no? By online, especially when you teach arithmetic, the 3 R's, the 3 R's. I just go back to the most basic, the 3 R's: arithmetic, reading, and writing. These are skills that I don't know if you can really find online as the best way to develop those skills. By the way, we're really bad on that rating in the last international. We're at the bottom. It's a little bit of a shame. Those 3 R's. No? But anyway, these things I believe will have to be really trained in class, in person, in the classroom. I don't think online will be able to address those very basic skills. I share the sentiment of Dean Raphael, no, because if it is mathematics, for example, I don't think the online exam can be quite a reliable indicator, given all the temptations around them, no? And the skills that is needed. That's why it will be a combination. Although in our case, in university, we would prefer to have the exams on campus so that they will be able to really develop the necessary skills. No? Of course, the outcome-based also is a very good method to see also other expected outcomes from the course. No? But there are really certain courses, I think, that are OBE, but cannot be fully addressed by pure online. That's why, as I think I agree with everyone here, it has to be blended. No? Blended. And otherwise, we won't be able to address some of the most basic skills that I think our nation, I think, needs to revisit. I said the 3 R's, the famous 3 R's: no, reading, writing, arithmetic.
Can we segue to that, because it's really important that we are not laging nandun sa baba. How do you suggest we fix that? Maski gitna man lang pwede na, pero huwag naman doon sa dulo ng papunta. Kakahiya, di ba? So, Dr. Pernia, meron ka bang idea?
Well, one thing that that must be taken into account is really our population. It's we are the statistics from that learning poverty from that World Bank study really hindi naman talaga nakakagulat na kasi tayo medyo alam na natin ang performance natin, no? Pero ang when we talk about basic education talaga, ang lalaki ng populasyon natin. No? So talagang dapat may inputs ang education doon pa lamang, no? Basic education talaga ang kailangan suportahan. No, paano gagawin 'yan? Well, yun nga, mga policy changes tungkol sa sa training ng ating mga teachers, no? At saka yung alam naman natin meron mga anomalya na nare-report tungkol doon sa sa ating basic ed. Dapat ma-address ang mga yun, no? Basic education remains to be the issue and the venue for fixing, so that our performance as a country will become better.
Is there any way that the leaders of the education system of our country, like you, lahat po kayo, is there any way that you can do something together to pull up that kasi hindi naman tayo yung pinakamahirap in the world pero tayo yung mababa yung grades doon sa ranking na yon. And tayo, for example, we have a lot of OFWs in the world na puro magagaling naman. Maraming magagaling outside. They are heads of their departments. Ang dami natin naririnig ng ganyan. Pero doon sa ranking na yon, ang bababa natin. So, is there, Brother Bernie ko na?
Ang masamang balita ay masama na yung ating ranking noon. At dumating pa ang pandemya, sigurado masasama pa kasi nga marami tayong na taon or oras na nakalipas na hindi talaga natugunan ang edukasyon. Or yung mga public school students, wala talaga, ang hirap nila matuto sa kalagayan nila. So, unang-una yun. Correct me if I'm wrong, pero yun daw mga questions sa math at reading ay nasa English. Hirap na nga tayo sa English, tapos hirap pa tayo sa reading, kaya talagang masama ang lalabas. Ang isa pa ay meron din family factor dyan. Kasi may saliksik na lumalabas na kung ang pamilya ay hindi nagbibigay ng importansya sa edukasyon, ang bata wala rin siyang hilig sa edukasyon. Kaya kailangan din maayos yung tingin ng pamilya sa edukasyon. Si Randy David may sinulat na sa kanyang column the other day na sinasabi talaga yung pamilya ang mahalagang mahalaga. Pag hindi sila naniniwala sa reading, writing, sa edukasyon, ang bata rin walang interest dyan. So nag-uumpisa rin yan sa pamilyas. Elena, you were gonna say something.
No, I wanted to add to that. No, the family is important. Having responsible parents is very important. Responsible parents include, being able to teach, being able to tutor, and instill the value of education on their children. Another thing that I wanted to add is, and to me this is worrisome, and I'm sure you've seen this news. No, in America they're recruiting more teachers because their teachers don't want to teach, in their schools anymore. I know personally of some people who have left the Philippines to become teachers in public schools in America. And ngayon, now that has become a problem, no recruitment of teachers in America, I bet you, there will be more migration, from our own core of teachers, which is worrisome. That is why dapat matulungan talaga ang ating mga teachers sa basic education, sa ating DepEd. Dapat buhusan ng tulong diyan, ng training, ng lahat. Taasan ng sweldo. May pera naman, no? Suportahan ng additional training. Maraming mga suhestyon na nagawa na.
Correct.
Unang-una, dapat tanggapin natin may krisis tayo sa edukasyon. At saka urgent to kasi lalabas yan at lalabas pagka dating ng 10-22 taon. Kailangan na natin sabihin, may krisis tayo, gagawa natin ng paraan, ibubuhos natin ang lahat ng ating mga resources para mabigyan ng solusyon ang edukasyon. Yan ang importante.
I like to reiterate what Brother Bernie said and Dr. Pernia, no? First and foremost, I think a good understanding that we need to have is that there must be complementarity between private education and public education. The problem right now is because of, I'm sorry, Dr. Peña, I'm also from UP, but I think UP agrees with this. Giving free tertiary education is not the answer because all the resources that should have been dedicated to primary education going to the subsidizing state universities. By the way, there are still more state universities being created. There are still many laws there in Congress. No? I heard that are pending. But what we need is maybe to address that, first begin with the philosophy. That the philosophy is private and public education should complement each other, not compete. Some of you may have heard some of our colleagues shutting down their schools. It's very sad. And who are they shutting down their schools? These are private institutions that cannot anymore compete with state universities or cannot anymore attract the students who have transferred to public schools. And if you look at the results of the same tests that we're looking at, it's the private schools that tend to improve, to generate better performances. And that's where what Brother Bernie said and what Dr. Pernia mentioned, we need to go back to basic education. That's very important. And second, lastly, as a reminder to myself and to everyone here listening to us, the family is still the basic primary school of education. I don't know why some parents tend to outsource more GMRC to schools. it should begin at home. No? You cannot outsource it to the school. That the children themselves must see that the family is the primary educator. No? Then the schools are there to complement, not the other way around. So I really like the discussion that we have right now. But we are in an education crisis. And this crisis, as Brother Bernie said, started much earlier. The pandemic just worsened it.
Accelerated.
So anyway, we are very optimistic people. I believe we should be able to help address this. And
We have
before it becomes a big problem.
we have
By the way,
20
it's a big
minutes
problem already.
left. We have 20 minutes left. So I'm gonna I want to really ask about yung financial again of the schools to kasi nga because maraming meron ng mga nagsasara, nagbebenta ng schools. Ang dami na this past months. How do you intend to recover kasi 'di ba tumataas yung gastos, maraming pagtaas ng gastos na nangyayari ngayon sa schools pero hindi nyo mataas yung tuition. How do you intend to recover? How do you intend to save? How do you intend to, 'di ba? Yung paano bang gagawin nyo, Brother Bernie?
Okay. Well, sa De La Salle, gumawa kami ng tinatawag namin long-term planning na gaano karaming estudyante ang kailangan namin makuha para bumalik sa pre-pandemic or even pre-K to 12. Kasi nagsimula itong pagbaba ng revenues, yung K to 12, kasi kukunti nga ang pumasok ng transition. So, kung makuha namin itong number of students na ito, sa 5 taon, pwede kami mag-recover. Doon naman meron din kaming eskwela na nahihirapan, nawala ng mga estudyante ng pandemic, nakikita namin ngayon na bumabalik sila kasi siguro nung time ng pandemic, gusto ng mga magulang yung home study kasi mas mura. Kaya ngayon, baka bumabalik sila. Umaasa ako na kung makita nila na mas magaling ang face-to-face or yung blended learning na binibigay ng eskwela, baka bumalik rin sila. Kaya kailangan nakikita nila na dekalidad yung edukasyon na binibigay ng paaralan. Sa pag-aaralan, dapat talagang pag-aralan kung anong mga long-term plans. Siyempre, yung salaries at saka yung number of employees, yun dapat i-control din kasi yun ang malaking bahagi ng gastos ng edukasyon.
Can one other answer that question, please?
For
Dr.
us,
Stan.
okay. The priority is really just to continue the mission of the university, education, research, and service. For education, we've had to revisit how we assign teaching units, try to be as efficient as possible in terms of allocating academic loads, and then assessing the hiring requirements just to maintain the quality of education for the university. For research, we still rely on external funding just so we have the resources needed to continue our scientific endeavors. And for outreach and community service, just establish more partnerships just so we are able to share in the activities needed to really serve communities and the nation. So it's just working with tight budgets as usual, just being more open to different approaches given
Okay. Dr. Peralta, meron ka ba?
Well,
okay, yes, Dr. San. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
For UANP, I believe I think we need to diversify our sources. What is important is, as what Dean Rafael said earlier, the mission is still primary. It should not be purely economic decision only, but the mission. And given that mission, we need to diversify our sources of economic means. No, and it's just not just tuition fees. So we really have to rely on executive education, scholarship grants, no, donations, no, and also as much as possible, good management of investments to make sure that
Yes.
we'll be able to sustain the scholarships, for example. For us, we did not stop scholarships because this is very important for our stakeholders and for our mission, no, to really take care of our students and, of course, to support their families. Maybe the key for us, a long-term plan again, is really to diversify our base and to more or less reduce reliance on tuition fees in the future of education. And for many of you, you may like to visit the universities abroad. No, tuition fees a very small portion now of their revenue cut. No? A large portion our endowment funds. No, professional education. So perhaps we in UNP would be working towards that direction. But we are working on how to go about it.
Dr. Peralta, meron ka yatang gusto idagdag?
Yeah. No, I do agree with really having a plan, a strategic plan. That's very important, I think, for all institutions. So, but that plan that we set will also have to be very flexible. So ngayon nga para may plan A, B, C, D tayo, no? Because of the uncertainty. Sabi nga nila, VUCA world na kasi, no? So we really have to deal with navigating a whole new environment and a whole new future for all of us, no? So there are a lot of opportunities ahead, but we have to admit that there are a lot of new ways that we're trying to test right now, and we have to be ready to continuously improve on those. We have to be very conscious of the plans, how we implement them, the results of our implementation, and the gaps, and how we can improve them moving forward.
At saka kung sana gumaling ang mga UAAP teams natin na nakikita sa television. Nako yan, may correlation yan ha. Yung pag magaling yung team mo, mas marami nag-a-apply sa enrollment.
That's true. That's true po, brother.
Salamat, Dr. Pernia, nanalo naman ng UP this time.
Oo. Wala naman. Gobyerno nagbibigay
No
ng
comment
pera
ako
sa
dyan.
kanila.
No comment ako
Oo.
dyan.
Dr.
Gobyerno
Guerrero,
naman. Wala silang problema sa enrollment.
No comment na lang ako. No comment.
No comment.
Pero tama ka, no, brother, kasi yung sa enrollment, kami pa nga ang nagiging selective sa totoo lamang, no? Pero yay, champion. Bigay
Ilang
mo na
taon? 38 years?
36.
36 years.
Yeah, medyo matagal yun pero talagang yun nga di ba? Men's basketball pa rin ang pinaka malapit.
At saka women's volleyball, ha? At
Ayun.
Yes,
women's volleyball also.
sige po.
wala masyado sa chess. Wala masyado sa chess.
Yung pa naman sports ko. Tsaka soccer. Okay. So, matatapos na po tayo. Last, na lang, lahat po kayo sasagot and then last words na after this round, last words na. Pero for now, ang question muna is, what will you, final question na to, no? What will you add? What will you stop? What will you continue moving forward? Siguro po, 1 minute each lang. Thank you. Dr. Paduhimo, nogi ko muna.
Okay. I think we will continue with what we are already doing, specifically pursuing an approach where you combine knowledge, pedagogy, and technology. That one, we will continue with that, and it will eliminate all the other what we call approaches, no? That will ground counter to it, because we have already pursued it, and that also includes facilities like our library. Will have to be digital, no? And I hope policies should also follow, because it seems that some government policies still insist on books. when in fact you can have the books already done electronically. So that's very important, and I think constant training of our teachers is very important in this context, because we need to make sure that they are up to date and up to par with their students, because many of their students are tech savvy. And also, I think very important is, for me, and most of all, is the right mindset. I think the mindset, because as my colleagues here, the co-panelists have shared, there's no such thing as a permanent plan. No? They keep on changing, and we need to make sure that we are flexible. We should be able to adjust immediately, and so is our organization. And that requires a very specific mindset. That's the one that I think, a new one that we need to keep on putting inside the culture of the institution, so that with that new mindset, should be able to continue pursuing the respective missions of our institution. So I think I'd just like to say, to make that closing statement, Rosana. Thank you very much for inviting me here in this forum.
So later na, mamaya magte-thank you ka pa uli, Dr. Stan. But now, let me call Brother Bernie from LaSalle.
Well, ang titigil na namin yung puro lecture lamang. Wala, hindi na namin ginagawa yan na isang oras at kalahati, isang tao lang ang nagsasalita. Ipagpapatuloy namin ang blended learning, ang paggamit ng technology sa aming mga sa modalities namin. Importante yung laging teacher training. Kaya lagi silang up to date. Saka yung mga research na gagawin ay para sa ikabubuti ng ating bansa at saka ng ating mundo. Yung mindset nga na sinasabi ni Dr. Tayo ay nabubuhay sa isang mundo na laging magbabago, laging magiging disruptive. Kaya dapat natin haharapin lahat ng ito with na magkasama tayo with a lot of courage, a lot of vision. So, yun lang.
Thank you. Dr. Guerrero?
For us, we'll continue making use of online resources, everything that we've gained from the past 2 years by having to cope with the pandemic and having to teach online. We'll apply those skills, apply those tools, even when we have on-site classes. So we'll still use our online platforms to augment the on-site learning of our students. We'll add to those capabilities what's made available by technology. So we'll consider what other tricks can be used by our teachers to enhance the learning of our students. So we are in a technological society, and things are continuously evolving. And I'm sure in the future we will have even more tools to use to help our students learn. We will stop thinking that things will eventually go back to the way they were in 2019. So this is what we have, and it's just moving forward at this point.
Thank you. Dr. Pernia.
Yes, no, like my co-panelists, no, the university will continue what it has been doing regarding online teaching, but improve upon it by introducing various modes of blending with online, both synchronously and asynchronously, blending with face-to-face through practicums, fieldwork, hands-on workshop, and blending in the classic sense, which is combining the face-to-face with asynchronous. UP UP has recognized and will continue to listen to the many difficulties that our students and faculty have faced, during this 2-year period, and especially during the transitioning to what we now call is the new normal. We will listen and continue to address the various requisites intended for the safe return of students and faculty, and continue what we consider the effective implementation of our blended learning modes. Thus, UP will continue providing much support to our faculty and students. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Dr. Peralta.
Yes. In the case embracing the guiding principles that we've started during the emergency shift during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's dialogue, flexibility, and accessibility. This has been our guiding principle when we shifted and will continue to be our guiding principle as we emerge and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. So our quality assurance mechanisms, um, planning, implementing, evaluating, and improving upon our initiatives will still be our guiding framework whenever we implement improvements in our policies and programs, still with the feedback from our various stakeholders. So hopefully, as we move forward, we'll find better ways of serving our stakeholders and meeting their needs, as well as contributing to the advancement of the country, as well as service to the global community, which is part of our mission and vision as a university. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now for our final words na, no? So let us hear from Dr. Guerrero. Final words
I'd
and
like,
maybe
yeah, I'd like
goodbye.
to thank everyone in the panel and the Rotary Club of Gifford District for this very informative discussion. I enjoyed exchanging ideas and learning from my peers in other universities. It's good to know that we're not alone as administrators in this very challenging time as we try to deal with so many changes and also assure the continuity of our respective missions. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Dr. Peralta, you want to?
Yes. So again, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to engage in discussion with leaders in the field. Thank you very much. I've learned a lot also from this discussion. And to my fellow educators in the audience, we know that the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic has been unprecedented. I share also your thoughts about everything that we went through, but looking at the bright future ahead, all the opportunities that has opened up for us, all the new learnings that we've gathered during this time. I'm sure that we will all emerge victorious, stronger, with greater purpose as educators, knowing that our students need us and that we remain committed to this vocation of teaching, and hopefully we will really make a difference in the lives of our students as they journey towards becoming the future professional citizens of the country. Thank you.
So, Dr. Peralta, kanina tinawag ka ni Faith na nandiyan na, na alamat. Sorry. Di ba? Thank you, thank you. So,
Thank
Dr.
you po.
Perna, kanina tinawag ka ni Faith na alamat. Ako naman, ang na-impress sa akin ay love. Di ba? So, can you give your last statement?
Nakakatakot naman yung alamat. Hindi naman.
Oo nga, love na lang.
Oo, love na lang, oo, no? Meron pa palang closing. Akala ko yung kanina closing na. Pero gusto ko lang ulitin nga na itong lahat kami na narito ay mayroong sense of optimism. No? Dumaan tayo sa ilang taon nitong pandemya, pero nandito pa rin tayo. Meron tayong pagmamahal sa ating profesyon, sa ating misyon, no, para sa bayan. Ganyan din kami dito sa UP at lahat ng mga higher education institutions sa Pilipinas. Kaya sama-sama tayo sa ating misyon para sa ikaunlad ng ating kapwa Pilipino. Maraming salamat sa inyo sa pag-iimbita at maraming salamat din sa aking mga co-panelists. No? Nag-enjoy naman tayo ngayon hapon. Nakikita natin na meron tayong some kind of a fraternity, a sorority, a sisterhood, a brotherhood when it comes to our experiences and our prospects for the future. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po. Brother Bernie.
Nagpapasalamat din ako sa Rotary Club ng Greenfields na sa inyong pag-anyaya sa amin. Maraming salamat sa aking mga co-panelists. Talagang nag-enjoy rin ako sa ating talakayan. Malalim ang aking pananampalataya na may pag-asa tayong lahat kahit na marami pa rin tayong problema. At mangyayari ito kasi tayo ay magkakaisa, gawa ng ating community na gusto natin mag-serve sa ating kapwa. Mabuhay tayong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Brother Bernie. And finally, Dr. Stan.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much to the Rotary Club of Greenfield for inviting these very distinguished panelists here that I have come to learn from this afternoon. I'm actually learning a lot from these exchanges that we have as well. And also to our active listeners who have been posting their comments. I just like to say that, as educators, there are many who depend on us. Especially parents and and their children who have entrusted the education to us, and that behoves upon us the need to be strong and to be optimistic, as Brother Bernie said earlier. We need to be optimistic, and we should never lose hope. And I think we should have a positive look at problems and challenges. These are more like opportunities to learn and to come up stronger. Every crisis we go through and how we look at it and how we deal with it should make us stronger, and ready for the future. It's primarily because first and foremost, there are many who depend on us. And finally, I like to, I think, share what I got here from the exchange. I think we need to rest also. We need to find rest, because I think, as many of us have observed, we are burning out in this blended world. So I think it's very important also to appreciate the importance of rest and reflection as well, to find time to contemplate and spend time with families. And of course, I like to follow through what Dr. Pernia said, to follow through on love, love in the family, love in the community. It's very important to sometimes not take ourselves seriously and to think more about others. And obviously, that's love. Thank you so much again, Rosanna and Faith and Alan, for inviting all of us in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Padohinog. So, I'd like to take this opportunity also to explain ano nangyari doon sa LESM. So, since 2005, I've been running LESM under, it's a secret for me na nirarun ko yung LESM kasi I don't want ahead to benefit from these seminars. Pero dahil po sa gusto ko magkaroon ng LESM na wala pang pangalan noon nung 18 years old ako, kaya nabuo ang AHED. Nauna yung LESM na idea ko na gusto ko mag-train ng teachers and principals para mas gumanda yung education system ng ating country. So, nung 2005, I invited UP's Dr. Ho, Ateneo's Dr. Soto, and LaSalle's Mrs. Venco to form this LESM. And AHED has been funding it silently. So hindi namin nilalagay yung brand ng AHED sa pag nag-produce kami ng LESM every year since 2005. Maganda po yung mga nangyari. Nakarating kami ng Baguio, Cebu, Iloilo, Davao, and a lot in Metro Manila in producing LESM for free. But in the past 2 years, wala pong college entrance exams, kaya wala rin pong kita yung AHED at nag-semi-close na ngayon AHED. Kaya wala rin pong funding ang para sa LESM. So nakapag-LESM kami noong 2020 and parang naging last na yon. Finally ngayon, nakapasok po ako dito sa Rotary Club and yung mga taga nasa Rotary Club po ngayon, they are very, very excited to continue LESM and nalungkot din sila na hindi ko ma-continue yung LESM on my own. Kaya po ngayon, tinutulungan na nila ako dito sa LESM and Rotary Club of Greenfield District, a newly formed club, will from now on run LESM And every year po magkakaroon na rin uli ng LESM, not only for school administrators but for school teachers as well. So thank you so much for na pinagbigyan nyo na naman kami. We miss Dr. Vilches kasi lagi siyang suki namin since dati pa, since 2005. But she's in the United States pa rin yata right now. So thank you so much. I really heartfully extend my gratitude to you kasi napagbibigyan niyo ako sa mga ganito. Maraming salamat po, and thank you very much again. We will invite you sana again someday. Thank you. Thank you, Faith.
Faith,
mute.
you're on mute.
Okay. Yes, maraming salamat po. Rosana, when we talked about us taking on education as our service project, it was no-brainer. So this is a wonderful start. And you know what, I really appreciate, because I personally was very alarmed because of the learning poverty, that was highlighted in that World Bank study. So I was hoping that there would be some sort of a discussion here today, and it did happen. I was also hoping that some government discussions would also happen. Maybe we can do that in the next sessions. So I'd like to thank you, Rosanna, and also, of course, I would like to thank all of our panelists, no? Professor Cheryl, Dr. Stan, Brother Bernie, Dr. Guerrero, and Prof. Pernia Alamat. Okay, so maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat for this afternoon session. You know, for me also, I believe now that we really need each other, no? Educators, family, especially business and government, to ensure that our students and teachers are prepared to handle the changes that are still coming. And of course, we need to lift our guns. Would love, ladies and gentlemen, would love to get your feedback regarding this session. We have seen a lot of your comments, but we'd like to have that as part of our evaluation of this session. So on your screen, you have our QR code. That is the link to our evaluation sheet. Please, scan that code, and you will get to our evaluation sheet. Or there's also a link. No? There's a link which we will be putting in the chat box right now. You could click that link so that you could tell us what you think. Tell us also what you would like to talk about in our next sessions. Because as Rosanna said, this is not the last. This is just the first of a series of discussions with different stakeholders in the education sector, and most especially, so that we could all figure out what we can do to help increase our standing in the world. So do share your learnings on your social media, and please don't forget to tag us and use the Educators in Action hashtag and LESM, LESSM, or you could also tag us, the Rotary Club of Greenfield District. If you would like to go back to the wisdom shared in this discussion, and there's so much wisdom that was shared in this discussion, just go back to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, Rotary Club of Greenfield District. You will find this there, and you can go back and distill all of the learnings and all of the insights that has been discussed in this webinar. So ladies and gentlemen, friends, this has been Faith Abanyo of the Rotary Club of Greenfield District, wishing you all a wonderful afternoon. God bless us all.